There are spots in the front.
Just trying to see that now, Bubba.
Good evening. I'm not even sure which mic. Can you guys hear me? All right. Can you hear me? All right. Is that better? Awesome.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Starting.
Why is this typical of like the church downstairs that nobody wants to sit in the front? Come on, people. We have lots of seats up front here. And I don't think Scott's going to bite tonight. I think he's perhaps not.
No promises.
That's right. Well, in typical Scott fashion, you have to have a portfolio to start a sermon or a evening. A pencil, right? Sharp. I've got that all ready to go. Good to know. Okay, hey, that's good to know. I didn't know that was a new trick. Anyways, thank you all for coming here. Really appreciate that. Take the time tonight to help celebrate Pastor Scott's ministry here at Shepherd. I also want to give a call out. We have a number of people on Zoom, so I know most of you can't see the camera, but I'm going to wave. But if you all could just wave on behalf of the congregation, we're having a Zoom crowd too. So fantastic. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. First, I just want to do a little bit of quick recognition. There's a committee of people that have helped put this on, and it's been a great group of people. I really love the time that we've been able to work and collaborate on planning this night. But I want to recognize Mary Jensen, Andy and Ellie Jensen, Cindy and Scott Kelsch, Dave Weimer, Nancy Schaefer, my beautiful wife Lana back there, Kay Worthy, and there's a number of other people that helped set up. But also equally, I want to thank Emily and Mark for contributing their music for the evening. So thank you. It's been great and appreciate that. All right, now that we get that out of the way, let's get started. So as I was thinking about Pastor Scott, I thought, well, we should probably start off with I don't know, like a narrative lectionary series that we've been working on. The Gospel of Mark has been kind of one of my favorites. Is that ringing a bell? And I believe there's always something with audience participation was always good too, correct? I'm just thinking out, but actually, I think maybe a narrative story of Pastor Scott's work here over the past 12 years would be appropriate. As I said, we're here to celebrate Pastor Scott. Just a few comments on myself. You know, everyone here has benefited from his leadership and also has challenged us to grow as a church. We have a lot to be thankful for that. Actually, I've known Pastor Scott before he joined church because I was on the call committee. And that was a great experience just in of itself, but the process through which we were able to find Pastor Scott. I've also worked with him on council as vice president and president. So we spend many times chatting about different things, tackling various challenges, but also able to be a part of Pastor Sherry's call. So the time I've spent with you has been certainly valuable and fun and gratifying. So appreciate that. I also think that throughout all of that, one of the things that we tackled all those issues, we kept it fun. And then I think that's what made it really cool. The time that we've spent together is that even though you have tough issues at your church, you work through them and you find moments to celebrate and enjoy that time together. But you know, while we continue to move ahead as a church, Scott also recognized and embraced our legacy. So I really found that really meaningful. I look at the past and I look at like reaching out to our legacy members such as the Soda Beers and others. And I think that was something that really resonated for me in terms of not only recognizing where we are as a church, but where we were as a church, and more importantly, where we are going to go as a church. So I think Scott brought all three of those elements together really nicely, and that's really something that he will continue to be recognized for as part of his legacy. There's a lot more to recognize about you, and I don't want to spend my entire time up here because you know what? We have a number of different people here to spend some time sharing some thoughts about your legacy and some notes. And I'm trying to think, we put together a plan and how to kind of visually capture that while we speak to that. So give me 1 moment, please. Does that look like anyone? I don't know.
It's awful big.
Huh. Interesting. We have looks like a body, but there's nothing that represents that. Over the course of the evening, we're going to start filling in that body with some of the work and the stories that we have to share. But before I go, I don't know if anybody noticed we have sheep up front. I'm wondering, should we move the sheep? No? Okay, all right. I just thought I'd ask the question. All right. Too late. We're not done yet, okay? And by the way, I don't know if you all noticed, we have like a little Pastor Scott head. Feel free to wave this. If anything strikes you, is it funny tonight? Silly, goofy, entertaining? Be sure to remind him of what he looks like at one point in time. I don't know. All right, let's get to it. I've got to keep this going because we got a full program tonight. So we're going to start off with our very first participant, Dave Weimer. He's going to talk about your head.
Scott's head. Now that's one mighty large noggin that our Pastor Scott has resting on those broad shoulders of his. I suspect that he has to adjust his Packers ball caps to the last tab just to cover a melon of that magnitude. Well, that must mean that there's a big brain in there, and you all know that that is true. The guy has an uncanny ability to know when it's time to re-roof or even maybe repave. Beyond his foresight for the physical stuff, he's even quite adept at learning the technology required to connect remotely with the congregation during a pandemic. Excuse me, could somebody please mute Bill and Marlene? They're having breakfast during the service again. And then there's even more room in there to enable him to absorb what is required to get a doctorate of divinity from a top-notch university. Well done. Are you kidding me? That head of his is amazing, to say the least. He's even fostered over 800,000 in capital appeal achievements through the share, save, and spend philosophy. Well done, my friend. Wow, that's a lot going on in that head of his, but as you can imagine, the whole person is certainly much more than a head with a pretty face sporting a Green Bay Packers hat. There certainly must be more. Well done. We'll cover that with my thumb.
Thank you, Dave. Next up, we have Heart and Soul, and that will be Pastor Sherry. Come on up.
You look lonely over there. I only have this much. So. Okay. Well, I had my first one-on-one conversation with Scott after my initial interview with the call committee. Scott was easy to talk with, had a great sense of humor, and from the start, I could tell that he loved his congregation. So you can imagine how excited I was when I got the call. And I was going to have a real collegial relationship with Scott. 2 weeks later, he sent me home. I thought, well, that lasted long. Now, I know we didn't get off to a great working relationship because of COVID, but since we've been in person, things eventually changed and started feeling like community and connection, and it was really great. And then a few months later, he says he's leaving. I thought, well, that lasted long. So you know what? I brought in some big leather chairs into my office, hoping he would find comfort in that and he might stay. Because once he sits down in that chair, he doesn't want to get up. And we have lots of long conversations in those chairs, don't we? Well, it didn't work. So, okay, I know I'm supposed to talk about certain things that you were part of, like the men's breakfast and welcome statement and things that you're passionate about in the way past, but that's before me. So I don't know about those things. But what I do know is this, that this man sitting here loves this place. And he loves you more than you will ever know. We have laughed and we have cried together. And I'm grateful for everything that you have taught me in my short time here. Things like, it's okay not to be perfect. Laugh at yourself. And if you have something scheduled and you are exhausted, cancel it for your own well-being. See, I did listen to you. So God's blessing to you on your next journey, Scott. I will miss you. And I'll miss ministry with you. And I just hope the Holy Spirit will be with you wherever you go. Okay, I love you, Scott.
Come on, you're not done. Which way does it go? Probably somewhere in that area. Match up the little dots. There you go. If we get stuck, Nancy will help. All right. Thank you, Sherry. Next up is a blast from the past, the one and only Brian Henning. Strong shoulders. I meant to.
Hello, everyone. The last time I spoke in front of anyone was 2 years ago, so this might be rough. Please bear with me. So I've been charged with talking about Pastor Scott's very strong shoulders. And even at this point, I'm still trying to decide whether I'm honored to be charged with such an impactful subject, or slightly offended that y'all gave the former deacon, a pain in the butt deacon, mind you, the place where the person carries all of their stress. What are you trying to tell me? No, shoulders, the place where we deeply feel the weight of all that we carry. Pastor Scott and I had a tradition every Wednesday night, almost every Wednesday night, that we would go downtown to Hopkins and we would have long conversations over burritos and chips at Nacho's restaurant. Fantastic. In those weekly gatherings, I got to see and experience firsthand the weight that Pastor Scott carried on his shoulders. Scott cares deeply, not past tense, cares deeply for this congregation, for every person in it. He cares for this whole community of Hopkins and Edina and the entire region. He cares for the church as a whole, and even for this whole country as a whole, and for this whole world as a whole. Over burritos and chips, we would often lament and celebrate the state of all those things of which we were a part. I was lucky enough to witness firsthand the impact that every individual moment of all of our faith lives combined had on him. From baptisms to weddings and funerals and everything in between, I know for a fact that all of it deeply impacted you in every way imaginable, for good, for bad. We watched him laugh with us and cry with us, all of it. Lord have mercy. Thanks be to God. I was lucky enough to witness the changes that occurred here at Shepherd, all of the things that Scott was able to facilitate to make sure that this community remained strong and healthy for years to come. From moving the sheep to reinvigorating our organizational structure and our 4 teams, to yes, even taking on a chaotic mess of a deacon. Scott carried all of these heavy and hard decisions with grace and humility. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. And in a matter of hours, literal hours, I think we could count them still, heavy decisions had to be made. From canceling in-person worship for 2 weeks to bend the curve, to figuring out how to do church online. Underneath all of those decisions, Scott carried a weight to make sure that each of us stayed connected to each other, to our families, our faith family, to our community, and even to God. Scott, your shoulders have had to bear a lot over the last 13 years of ministry here at Shepherd. And as you prepare your exit, I hope you take this charge from someone who has had to walk that path. I charge you to lay down your burdens and give your shoulders a break. And for every decision, for every ounce of weight that you carried, we say thank you. Here's to you, Scott.
I think you're kind of getting it now. I did forget to mention that if it 2 to 3 minutes gets a little long, the shepherd hook is coming out. We do have a time clock, I'm just trying to keep everybody on track. I got a question again. Is it now the time to move the sheep?
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not hearing a big go for it. All right. Let's hold off on that right second. All right. Let's keep moving then. How about that? Left hand. We have Andy Jensen up here to talk about the left hand.
Yeah. Tonight I have the honor of talking about Scott's left hand, which is not a sentence that I ever thought that I would say. But here we are. I know Scott pretty well. I'm sure he wouldn't just want me to gush about him up here without first telling you some interesting facts about his left hand. Things like how adept Scott is at using his left hand to crank his boat lift. Oh, usually he makes me do that. Or how he uses his left hand to stack the plates in his cupboard in colored order. White, blue, white, blue. If you think I'm joking, I'm not. I've seen it. Or my favorite, how he uses his left hand to readjust his ski boot for the 15th time before his skis even touch the snow. Allie and I met Scott around 2012. We were at our wits' end trying to find a new church home, not to mention a pastor who would officiate our wedding. We spent months attending churches and couldn't find the right fit until we walked into the doors of Shepherd and we heard Scott preach. Scott did exactly what you thought he would do after the service. He made eye contact with the new people and he beelined it towards us to introduce himself before we could leave. We left church that day buzzing with excitement. We realized that we had found a church home. Scott's ability to reach out that left hand to new people and make them feel welcome is an important and such an amazing gift. However, all gifts come with a price. I dare you to go anywhere with Scott within a 30-mile radius and escape without him running into someone that he knows. It's impossible. Try this with me. Imagine that you're with Scott and you jump on the bus that takes you to the Minnesota State Fair at 7 o'clock in the morning before the real crowd shows up. Once you get there, the obvious first stop, deep fried candy bar at 8:30 in the morning at the request of a certain pastor with a sweet tooth. After consuming the ooey gooey Milky Way, which is his candy bar of choice in this situation, you spend the rest of your adventure at the fair trying to feign interest in the conversations that Scott has with every third person that he sees. Again, this is experience. This is what happens. Scott's ability to reach his hand out and build relationships helps connect him and Shepherd to the community. Scott is the kind of person that everyone wants to know and everyone is excited to see and talk to. Who doesn't want to spend time with someone like that? Scott's left hand is also used for all kinds of musical purposes. Scott plays the guitar, the piano. He tries to sing. If you didn't know, Scott originally went to Luther and he wanted to be a choir teacher. And then he started working with kids. The rest is history. No, I'm just kidding. I'll never forget the first time I heard Scott preach a sermon and in the middle of it sang "This Little Light of Mine" a cappella. Of course, we have musical pastors, but Scott is always willing to use his musical talents at church or anywhere he can. Another one of Scott's gifts is his ability to see the talents in people. If you're sitting in this room, I wager a bet that you would, at one point, Scott has contacted you and said, "Hey, you want to do this?" Inevitably, he figures out the right people for the right roles. After convincing us to join the church and have Scott officiate our wedding, we were at his mercy. Saying no to any request that was behind that gleeful smile was impossible. Before I knew it, I was opening and closing the church, running the soundboard, camping in Scott's backyard with confirmation kids, playing a variety of instruments on Sundays, serving on a call committee and on an internship committee. I shook the guy's hand 9 years ago, and since then I feel like I've been working part-time here. Since then, my parents moved to Hopkins. And wouldn't you know it, he figured out their number too. Scott meets people and he figures out what they're good at, and then he asks them to use those talents at the church, which is a simple idea, and he executes it incredibly well. Scott will be missed by the congregation at Shepherd, especially the gifts that are exemplified by his left hand, his willingness to meet anyone and everyone at any time, his inviting smile, his musical nature, and his wonderful powers of delegation.
It might make sense as we get more body parts, I'm thinking. Well, let's see how it goes. Thank you, Andy. All right, now we're going to go from left hand to right arm, and we have Wade Wackles here to represent that. Come on up, Wade.
The lawyer gets the hook. This is going to take a while. My friend, I'm here to talk about Scott's right arm. Arms are used for any number of things. I want to start with how Scott has used his arms to enfold, to hold, to place them around folks. Folks here, yes, but others will talk more about that. I want to talk about Scott's way of reaching out his arm to the community outside of Shepherd of the Hills, which was one of the things that he was called to do here and did most excellently. He became a police chaplain for the Hopkins Police Department and rode along with police officers as they did their very difficult, challenging work. He cared for the officers, and he cared for those that the officers were with when he was with them too. He was involved and got to know folks on the Hopkins City Council, involved with the Beacon Housing Project. And of course, he found his way into several eating establishments in downtown Hopkins that have never been the same since. Amy's Cupcakes, you all know. Anybody here not had an Amy's Cupcake? And then Cream and Amber, which until COVID was the regular haunt of a pastor crew on Wednesdays at noon, where we get together and we talk about the text for the coming Sunday and try to figure out what we might have to say to you all. So he did and reached out his arm in that way. There's also other faith community neighbors that Scott reached out to. More than I can list here right now, but I want to mention Pastor Satis Roddy in the days after George Floyd and how you became friends there and led many of us into those days when we could do nothing together except outside and had a deep burning need to be together in the midst of everything that happened after George Floyd was killed. And you and Satis and others gathered communities to do that. And that kind of outreach with your arm of welcome was most appreciated there. You also made friends with this little congregation on the other side of town called Calvary. There are a few of Calvary folks here today that came over that have gotten to know you. You worked with them while they were trying to figure out their next steps 5 years ago. Eventually, you had a little something to do with me ending up there, which I'm going to talk about more in a minute. One other thing that I wanted to make mention of, Pastor Sherry couldn't talk much about Mosoth because it happened, the last time it happened was well before COVID and certainly well before Sherry. But I remember this idea being talked about. On a Saturday, let's fix some breakfast food. Let's do music and singing with guys. Let's share our gratitudes and laments with each other and do some deep kind of work together. Again, guys, let's learn some things. Let's bring somebody in to talk to us and teach us about experiences, about life and faith and how we live it out day to day, no matter what it is that we do. And then let's do that at 6:30 in the morning. Stupid. We came to call that stupid early. But pretty regularly, 40 guys would show up to do that. Not so stupid. An arm around the people of this place. And you included us too. I want to go back to the Calvary story for a minute. Many of you know that I started seminary in 2008. Scott came along in August of 2009. And I'm sure the first question is, what? Lawyer, seminary, what? But he got on board. And he took me along. And since the day we met, you put your arm around me and my walk into that world, into that calling that had been a part of my life for a very, very long time. And I could finally see glimmers that it could come to be. And you held my hand. You were a listening board, a guide, a mentor, a cheerleader, a confidant through it all. You gave me opportunities here. You sent me away, and you always, always prayed for me and checked in with me about how it was going. And in no small part because of the work you started with Calvary, I ended up there. I owe you so much for the way you helped me into this part of my life, a part that God had been after me about for a very long time. So I am so grateful for you. I have so much gratitude for what you have been to me, to all of us here. And I am lamenting a bit that this is your last day. I also want to tell you all that I have two favorite pastors in the history of my life. One of them is right there, Hub. And often in my ministry, I certainly ask, what would Jesus do? And then I ask, what would Hub do? And then I also ask, what would Scott do? It's a part of my process and thinking all of the time. So Hub, you're my favorite, but you don't get to preach anymore, or you don't preach anymore. Scott's got one more and you're tied. You're in danger. I've talked a little bit about how your right arm has encompassed and brought folks in and extended that warmth and that holding. There's another thing pastors use their right arm for. And I'm going to take the privilege of doing that now. This is a blessing for you. I'm paraphrasing Paul from Ephesians, but we know of your faith in Jesus here and your love for all the saints of this place. We will not stop giving thanks for you and remembering you in all of our prayers. We pray that God will give you a spirit of wisdom, revelation, as you walk this new road ahead, so that your heart may be lightened, so that you may know the hope that God has called you to, and the richness of the inheritance you have among God's people, now and always. Amen.
Full exercise. Yeah, right.
Thank you, Wade. It does look eerily similar. While he's figuring that out, we're going to keep the program moving along. Next up, thank you, Wade. Next up will be the feat, which is represented by Todd Bewin. There he is. Come on up, Todd.
Wow. Wade, that's a tough act to follow. You're very gifted and you're an attorney, but that was wonderful. I'm kind of wondering, Scott Edmondson, why no one is putting the stomach up there. I mean, we didn't call out the stomach as a separate part because we're hearing about so much food and the Hopkins establishments, and I actually have that theme as well. But I do have the feet. Actually, I met Scott in a restaurant. It was 2009, and I was the president of the church council. And I went to meet Scott to talk about the conditions of his employment with Shepherd of the Hills and his call. So that was a memorable day, but we were eating. And then when I became president of the church council 10 years later, we went to Maynard's and talked and had dinner, and we kept eating all in between too. So, but anyway, it's been my privilege to be the president of the church council 2 times in these 12 years. I have your feet. Scott, what size feet do you have? 12, okay. Those are large feet. But that's a good size. That's exactly what I wear. And we should have talked about this earlier. We could have exchanged shoes. But just a little play on words to start. Scott Edmondson and team, it's been quite a feat to put this together in such short order. And this is a nice gathering, or fete, F-E-T-E, and in which to acknowledge Scott and his large feet, F-E-E-T. So what can I say about Scott's feet? Well, I do think about him in a children's sermon, bringing out a large pan of water and towels, taking off his shoes, right in front of the kids, and the kids sort of and looked at him, they had to wash his feet at that moment. But the point was to teach them about. I think he was teaching them, or at least he just wanted his feet washed by the kids. But he did get his feet washed, and I believe he returned the favor and washed the children's feet at the same time, and taught a lesson about the humble Jesus getting down to wash people's feet, and that was an important lesson and a great way to demonstrate that. I also think of the socks that you've worn on those feet. I think you've got some green socks. You probably got some purple socks. I won't spend time there, but I do also think about how your feet have been a way to your stomach. I mean, I know that you got to know Hopkins quite well. As people have talked about, you found your favorite places there. I have been to Amy's Cupcakes, and only because you told me about it, and I thought I better try it out. And Cream and Amber, I appreciate the gift card that you gave me for that as well. I'm having a little trouble with my technology here, but. And I think the last, and Wade hit on this. I had some of the same themes that Wade did. With your feet, you ventured into the communities around us, and you rode in the police car and did patrols. You talked to people. You got to know the community, the difficulties in the community, as well as the wonderful things about the communities around us. And you brought that back here, and you taught us so that we could also work in the communities, and you highlighted how we were doing that, and you brought us in. So those are big shoes to fill, and I just want to thank you for the time and just the value that you brought, and in my life as well. So thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Todd. We're going to move on to the ears. So Scott Kelsch, would you please come up and share with him?
You got Scott? Scott? All the Scots are here and accounted for? All right. So we were in the planning meeting and thinking about body parts and who wants to be what, who wants to talk about what body part? And so we said ears. Who could talk about ears? Hey, Scott works for a hearing aid company. Let's have him do the ears. I'm like, what? Anyway, I'm here to say a few words about Scott's ears. Ears are for listening, and you always are listening. You're listening to us. Looking for our feedback. So I just kind of want to talk about a few things that come to mind where he's really listened. I guess for the men's breakfast, he brought us in, like Wade said, early in the morning, and we always had good discussions. He put us into small groups, and when we got done, he wanted to hear our feedback. What were the high points of discussions? Work 2 points we were talking about that morning. And then Bible study, Wednesday morning. Always wanted to get feedback about what things people were thinking. Try to help out, get feedback for the sermon. And then, of course, mission trips. There's a few people here from the mission trips, and there was a lot of long rides to get there and get back. Adam? And of course, on church council, you had us read through articles, books, have discussions, talk about feedback. What are you guys thinking? What can we get out of this? As well as meeting with the church staff, listening to them, the community, sitting through city council meetings, riding along with the police, Lake Road Corridor, local businesses. The list goes on. Then even for sermons, who knew that sermons could be interactive? I don't know how many times we're like, okay, turn to your neighbor and discuss. And then once you got done, he wanted to hear what you had to think. And it was always, say more. So I guess you're always listening and learning. And that's it.
Thank you, Scott. Do I hear a motion that we should move the sheep now? I mean, I feel like we've gotten to know each other. Everyone all in favor? Let's move the sheep, people. Move the sheep. Oh, wait. I think we should try that wall. Oh yeah, let's go that wall. That'll be fine. They'll be able to find them. No worries about it. They look great over there, guys. We will still honor those sheep. We're going to keep moving on. The left arm. We have Mike Bolin, a friend from the past. Come on up, Mike.
I'm using old technology tonight. I'm not a member of this congregation. I wasn't any part of the planning for this event tonight, and I had absolutely no idea what Scott's left arm had to do with what I'm going to talk about. But I got some clues from some of the speakers before me. I first met Pastor Scott when I was working as a music director at Mount Calvary Lutheran Church in Excelsior. We had lost one of our pastors to a job change and were looking for a replacement. Finally, one day, the senior pastor announced there would be a special staff meeting to meet the new guy. The new guy turned out to be Pastor Scott. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that first meeting with Pastor Scott, but first I need to give you a little background on myself. I love to play golf. So did my dad and my two brothers. We played a lot together. I played a lot with friends. We played a lot. I'll leave it at that. When I was working in the business world, we used to take a group of clients up to a course called Northland to have our own fun-filled 2-day overnight golf tournament. Northland is an amazing golf course just on the north side of Duluth. It's situated high on a hill looking over Lake Superior. I think you could imagine the views from there, breathtaking stuff. So I have many great memories of the good times at Northland. So back to meeting the new guy. Many golfers in this part of the state have never even heard of Northland. So imagine my surprise when the new guy shows up wearing a golf shirt from Northland Country Club. I could hardly believe it. What are the chances? But despite not knowing anything else about him at that point, I knew I was going to get along with this guy. Today, I consider Scott one of my best friends. Now, I'm starting to get a little older, so on Scott's side, it might be more like a combination of friendship and his role as visitation pastor to Geesker. But either way, I'm okay with it. What, my technology failed me. I think I left one part of the technology at home. Well, I'm gonna have to ad lib from here. At one point, I was, after I left Mount Calvary, Scott and I got together and he said something to me. He said, I've had a brainstorm and I'd like to talk to you about it, see what you think about it, and maybe even think about whether you'd like to help me do this. So I said, okay. And he said, and this is a paraphrase, because probably from many different conversations that I can put it together now about 8 or 9 years after the fact, but what if we started something called the Center for Service? What if a part of that would be helping nonprofits in our community to find volunteers, and the other part would be finding people who want to be volunteers and marrying the two up. So I thought, okay, volunteers are really important. Nonprofits do a lot of really good work in the community. That's important. God said, love your neighbors. And I thought, that's it. This is yet another way for Shepherd of the Hill to love their neighbors in kind of an indirect way, but that's how it, so I said, it's brilliant, Scott, I'm in. And I'm so glad I did. We had a lot of work to do to get it going. We had to contact all the nonprofits and to get their information on what volunteers they needed. Now, this was a very easy part of it because Scott was already deeply involved with just about all of them. Then we had to start a database up that would keep track of the people and enable us to communicate with them online. And it all came together pretty well. We were able to build, oh no, I forgot one thing. We also had to do a lot of publicity and we had some signs around and I can't fail to mention the Raspberry festival parade. We all, we all got involved in that. Tina and I both marched in the parade along with Scott and some other volunteers. We had a great big Hopkins volunteers banner, and we threw candy at the kids and answered whatever questions would come up. And it was a great time, but even more important, great publicity. So we went about it, and we were able to build a database of 21 nonprofit partner organizations. And we're on a time thing here. I'm just not going to read them all to you, but my one favorite was, it was stuff like the Blake Road Corridor, City of Hopkins Common Bond, Hopkins Police Department, and my favorite one was Hopkins Public Schools. I myself decided to volunteer there as one of their mentoring or tutoring guys at the program. So they signed me up with a boy who's in 5th or 6th grade, and we were doing reading and math together. We got to math, and the first day we started long division, he was perplexed by it. He said, "Can you help me with this?" So I went about showing him how I did long division. And about halfway through, he stopped me, he said, "Oh no, Mr. Bolin, we don't do it that way anymore." So I found my true value in that situation. But it was a wonderful experience, and I enjoyed it very much. And then we come to the sheet that I forgot, which is not good. Oh, that had the best stuff on it too. Well, anyway, I'll give it a shot. As I said, we built a database of 21 nonprofits, and by August of 2013, I think we had received 390 applications to sign up on hopkinsvolunteers.org and receive communications about volunteer opportunities that were available. And we ended up sending, at the same time, 190 volunteer applications to the various nonprofits. So we were pretty proud of that. It actually moved the needle. And that was only the time when I was there. After I left, Scott got a lot smarter guys to direct the thing and everything. Anyway, so it was a very fun project to do. I felt like I was making some kind of a contribution to some worthwhile cause, and I guess I ended up thinking about that, kind of what I said before, yet another way that Shepherd of the Hills can love their neighbors. So it's very gratifying, and Scott, I can never thank you enough for that program. I really appreciated being a part of it and working with you. Now, I'm not gonna say goodbye to you, because we're gonna still be friends and everything. So, but I know that whatever Scott's next chapter is, given all of his capabilities and talents and his heart, he will continue working to make the world a better place and to help people love and take care of each other. Thank you, Pastor Scott.
Here you go. All right. Thank you, Mike. Uh-oh. The puzzle's coming together, though. All right. We're going to keep moving. The right hand, another community partner, Tara Palm, will come up, please. So thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tara Palm. I was the executive director of Resource West until November of 2021. Now I am working for a human rights organization that is in Central America. I'm in their resource development office. So I wanted to give some context because I'm not a part of your congregation, but I've been with you on a few Sundays, and really grateful to be here tonight and to be asked to speak. So I've got Pastor Scott's right hand. And specifically, I'm speaking also to the work of Pastor Scott and Shepherd's work with BRCC, the Blake Road neighbors, Cottageville Park. So when I think of the right hand, so I'll just say this first. I try really hard to be inclusive, but this right hand metaphor is really only going to work for like Westerners, right hand dominant people, and perhaps even pre-COVID. So just like work with it a little bit. So the right hand is used for many things, like a wave, a high five, perhaps a thumbs up, even a side hug. And really all of those actions are actions of welcome, care, and community. And as I think about BRCC and the neighbors along Blake Road and Cottageville and just really the hopes that and Pastor Scott's leadership, that's all I can think of is welcome, care, and community. Pastor Scott's right hand. So with that, keeping it short, thank you for our past colleagueship. Is that a word? Friendship. Your vision and work in the community and your generosity. I just really appreciated the 7 years that we were able to work together. And thank you for my own, and thank you for the community at large, your own welcome, care, and community to all of our neighbors. And as I close, I was sitting by two different signs over there, really close. One of a great picture of Pastor Scott and Pastor Joanna, and that like face. I don't know if you see his face. It's pretty awesome there. And then I was also looking at this one that's closest to us, and it must have been, I don't know maybe the ordination picture. What is that action? What is it called? Installation. I didn't know the language. But I noticed on the banner, right behind it, was a verse, Isaiah 43:1, and I looked 43:1. I looked it up, and because I thought it was just, I don't know, I'm not a pastor, so I don't know if I can officially give a blessing, but it felt like a word of blessing in this moment. And it says, "But now God's message, the God you made in the first place, the God that made you in the first place, the one who got you started, don't be afraid. I've redeemed you. I've called your name. You're mine. When you're in over your head, I'll be there with you. When you're in rough waters, you will not go down. When you're between a rock and a hard place, it won't be a dead end, because I am your God, your personal God, the Holy of Israel, your Savior." Blessings upon blessings.
All right, thank you. We are now moving on to, I think somebody pointed this out earlier, but it's actually the belly button, and Nancy Schaefer is going to describe the belly button for all of us. So, thank you, Nancy.
This is very bad.
Well, I come to you today representing the turkey clans of Turkey, Bingo, and Bowling of the famed Shepherd of the Hills, because they so appreciate the support that Pastor Scott has given them. But the rumor in the turkey pen was that Scott was going free range now, and they were quite upset. But the turkeys, being very well bred, really wanted to wish him a fond farewell. And several of the young chicks, I swear they still have a crush on him because they talk about him religiously. After being quite henpecked, Scott and Lana Edmondson decided, okay, you can have one piece of the puzzle, that is Pastor Scott. We'll take any piece, they said, but we'd like one that jiggles a wee bit like a waddle. Well, now it's church. Okay. Timidly, the Edmonds said, well, no one has taken the belly yet. Perfect, exclaimed the turkeys, because even a turkey knows that in a belly there is a belly button, And a belly button makes you think of your birthday, the day you were born. And Pastor Scott was born on November 10th, and that was the actual date of some of the turkey bowling and bingo events here at Scott. Well, in the mind of a turkey, that made Scott an expert on all things poultry. Several turkeys attested that they saw Scott purchase both a chicken and an egg off Amazon to see which would come first. But the whole flock admired Scott. They loved the way he boldly gave his sermons without notes down in the congregation. And he sang the prayers so beautifully, and he cared for his people. Why? They thought he was poultry in motion. Others thought he was impeccable. Anyway, the turkeys gathered. They said, we have to pick out a card and gift for dear Pastor Scott. And the card was really easy. They actually found one that said, Happy Thanksgiving, and yes, it's almost my birthday. And on the inside, a heartfelt saying, wishing you a future of free-range fun. Your friends in the pen, the bingo turkeys. And then they thought about the gift. They said, oh, you know, Pastor Scott, he preaches on love and grace. I have to get him something like that. But then they thought a little harder, and they actually gave away turkeys as mere bingo prizes. And someone saw him chortle when several turkeys were hurled against 10 heavy bowling pins again and again. And it occurred to the turkeys that a new pastor might not know anything about turkey bingo. And this was an opportunity to be seized. So they got out their feathers and their glue, and they made a wonderful paperweight masterpiece for him, hoping Scott would put it on his desk and then pass it on to the new pastor. And here it is. It says, remember, November 2022, chicken bingo. Have fun. So with the paperweight now delivered, I just have to add a couple farewells of my own. Pastor Scott is going on a new exciting adventure, and the turkey bingos are off into the sunset, apparently being replaced by chicken bingo. So to Scott, we hope and pray that you find joy and happiness and success and fulfillment in your new journey. And to the bingo turkeys, we hope and pray that one day all poultry will be able to cross the road without having their motives continually questioned.
All right, thank you, Nancy. I think we're doing pretty good, right, everybody? Woo! All right, we're going to keep moving. Moving on to the eyes. And Kathy Weimer, come on up here.
I want to see those eyes, please. Let's see those eyes. Yes, that's great. That's great. I might stay like this while I'm doing this. So as you know, I'm focusing on Scott's eyes and his ability to create and execute a vision for the church. Through my time working with Pastor Scott as on the church council, I discovered that he is an expert in this process, and I have seen multiple examples during his time with us. Our welcome statement says all are welcome here, and a visible expression of this is the physical appearance of Shepherd. When you look around our facility, both inside and out, there is evidence of this vision. The updates to our lounge area, the lower kitchen, the remodeled office, and the nice bathrooms. Be sure you know which door you're going in. Those doors changed from the old bathrooms, if you remember. The new roof, the nursery, the mom's nursing room, and Good Shepherd Hall, where we are gathered here today, used to have all these big sliding, accordion sliding doors that are now no longer here. So, you know, we have actually created a more welcoming and functional areas for members and visitors to utilize. And after many years of discussions about our crumbling parking lots, we now have much needed new ones that makes our church home appear cared for when everyone comes. In particular, though, I want to highlight the beautiful and unique artwork that graces our sanctuary and rotates throughout the year. This has been a gift that most of us didn't fully understand or appreciate when Pastor Scott envisioned and first raised the idea. He often started many of these initiatives with his famous saying, ready, aim, ready, fire, aim, which usually meant we were ready to move forward, even though the path wasn't 100% clear. We had to have faith in many of these projects that we did. And all of this required fundraising beyond our normal giving, which he also is a master at doing. And the sheep tapestry, even though it got moved to the side, it continues as an anchor in our sanctuary for everyone to see. Matthew 6:22 says, the eye is the lamp of the body. So then if your eye is clear, your whole body will be full of light. A popular version of this is that the eyes are a window or a mirror of the soul. And if that's the case, Pastor Scott must have a very visionary, creative, collaborative, and light-filled body and soul. Thanks for all you've done over the years for Shepherd, Pastor Scott, and for personally, it's been a wonderful ride. So it's been great. And whenever we look around, we will think of you and think of and appreciate our beautiful and functional spaces.
I think we're getting there. All right. Thank you, Kathy, very much. We're going to move on to the next one, the mouth. And we got Emily Koski that's going to come up and talk to us.
So yes, I have Scott's mouth, Scott's big mouth. And I had so many amazing talking points that I put together during his sermon 2 weeks ago, and I was really excited to share them because I don't know what you were talking about. So I was like, oh, what's going on in here? It's gonna be great. What I will say is that all of the things that I had, which were many and plentiful, because it was like a really long sermon, so I had like a long time to write notes, has been covered, and sometimes been covered over and over by different parts of you and by different members of this community. And I was going to talk about your leadership. I was going to talk about how you had a great singing voice, and I'm the music director, and that is not a given. I sing at plenty of churches where the pastor is singing something, I'm playing something, they don't match. But Scott, you almost always sing the right song at the right time. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. So I was gonna say all this nice stuff about Scott's voice, and Andy took that, and about the community and how you rally us. I think what is left to say, and you've already demonstrated, I've seen a couple times, is that you have an amazing, humble nature and sense of humor about all the wonderfulness that you are. He never takes himself too seriously. He's made jokes, I think 2 or 3 times tonight about the long sermons and they're boring. Even my 8-year-old during your Easter sermon, he said, "Mom, sermons make me sleepy." But I thought you. Yeah, me too. So what I will say is that I have, as the music director, I'm on staff, I report to Scott, and I've just had this amazing gift of being able to be led by you as a congregation member, but also as a leader. And I also, the same week he hired me to work here, I got a call from a large financial institution also offering me a job. I took both, and throughout the years, you've always been my leader here and been amazing, mostly because you do the hard thing, even if it's very difficult. Even if people are not all on board, if it's the right thing and you believe in it, you do it. And most people don't do that. And so over the years, as I've moved around in my career at the bank, and people would say, do you like your manager? Do you have a great leader? I'm like, I do, because I always had him. So truly, truly, I think somebody said it, WWSD, what would Scott do? That's something that I've asked myself here in this role. I've asked myself in my corporate role. I ask myself in my family role. And I think all of us in this community can agree that if we do what Scott would do, we'd be in pretty good shape, even if his sermons could use a little work. So thank you.
Wait a minute, I got a moment here. I'm just trying to get organized here, but yeah, we need to move the sheep again, people. It's one more time, because you can't let them sit there too long. The pastor gets kind of eaten up and stuff like that. Well, let's get that sheep moved over to this wall over here. How about that? All right. See, they're comfortable now. We're all comfortable with the sheep. That's good. Thank you, sheep movers. Oh, whoa, the bat. All right, we're getting close to the end. I'm gonna keep us moving. We have legs, and that is Kay Wothy. Come on up, Kay.
Not looking at him. Not looking at him. First of all, as a church nurse, it's important for me to say I did not organize the way we have covered the parts of the body. After getting a 4-year degree and my master's degree, I do realize that the left hand bone is not connected to the foot bone. So, say that. Also, I feel the need to address Todd Bewan's point of not speaking about the stomach. Todd, it's not a closed system. It's a little dangerous. I know we did the bathrooms, but okay. So I have the legs. The legs keep us grounded. They provide balance, and they have to work together to move us forward. And hopefully, when you think about those things, you think about the staff, the church staff that helps lead you in those ways. Scott did the heavy lifting of hiring the church staff. He hired lots of us. He hired a lot of great people. He hired me. Anyway, he also hired Emily, Kevin, Adam is back there. Chris Bjorky's here. She's a temporary hire. We would have kept her though. Pastor Joanna, Brian, Pastor Sherry, interns like Pastor Ann and the others that were here before her, the Hopkins volunteer staff, and then he mentored a lot of the staff in these community organizations as he was on their boards and committees. you might not know this, but as a staff member who was here in the building, would see them come in and he would mentor them in their roles and care for them and see them, as we say at the church, which is really great. He also, of course, wisely kept David and Sean, right? We all know who runs the church. I've often said that in the 30 plus years that I've worked since my college degree, that Scott is, and I'm not kidding, is the best boss I've ever worked for. Now, I hesitate to say that because I have a pretty great vacation schedule. Let's just admit it. I mean, let's be honest, I do. So, but it's not because of that. It's because he's always there for us as a staff. He's there for us when we're here and when people have moved on and grown and gone to other things, and as their career has grown, I hear them and see them coming back, calling back, and being mentored by him. He's always there for us. He cares for us personally, and he has a heart for that, just like he has a heart for you. He stepped up to help us when we're down, and he steps back and gives us room when we're plowing forward. He managed our ideas and our energy without micromanaging us, which is a blessing. He somehow encouraged us to grow in our places and work together as a team without having all these staff meetings where we had to talk about teamwork and which letter of the alphabet fit our personality, and all that. So somehow, how he ran those meetings and did those things brought us together as a team every time through each iteration of staff change, which is just incredible. And to be honest, I have worked at other churches and I really wanted to hurt myself after staff meetings. They were so bad. And here the staff meetings are actually fun, and we laugh and we get a lot done. And we care, we take time to care about each other. Matter of fact, the first thing we do, it might surprise you, who can guess? We do gratitudes and laments. But you know what? In that time, we really care for each other, and we really know each other, and we know each other's what's going on for each other, and helps us live and work together. The other thing is he's always open to new ideas and processes without letting us lose sight of the mission, the purpose, or letting us overwhelm the people we served. I remember one ministry project Pastor Joanna and I were 100% sure we needed to start. In each and every staff meeting, Scott was not so sure. He gently pushed back. But Joanna and I, we persisted. That's who we are. But he stayed strong. He didn't think it would work. We were sure it would work. He finally agreed to let us do it anyway. It was a total failure. An absolute flop. Absolute flop. There was never, and I told you so, there was never a mention of it at all. It just died a quiet death on its own. His gentle redirection was done with care, and he was often right. Though, I hate to say that into a microphone. In closing, I have to say, without looking at you, it's been an honor, and I am so proud to have worked with you. And all we've accomplished together. It was fun work, and I will forever be proud. I also wish he was shorter so you could hug his head.
Nice try. All right, we're going to wrap it up with one last body part, and that's the ankles. And I'm going to ask Rick Schaefer to come up here and share a few thoughts. Go Pack Go, right? Just for some background here. Okay, as you all know, Pastor Scott is an avid Packers fan. He has lots of Packers stuff, including his favorite coffee cup, which he hauls into the sanctuary every Sunday during the fall. He has a Packers tie, Packers socks. He probably has other Packers clothing as well that I don't even want to think about, actually. But during a recent turkey bingo event that happened to fall on Scott's birthday, some Vikings fans in the congregation got together and gave him a pair of Viking socks as a birthday gift. Now, he graciously agreed to wear them, but only for games against teams that the Packers also wanted to beat. So never against the Packers. But he has been very gracious in doing that. But Scott is beginning a new chapter in his life. And as an avid Vikings fan myself for the past 40 years, I know that once you get a taste of purple pride, you can never go back. So to help Scott on his continued transition from gaudy green and yellow to heavenly purple and gold, from the pedestrian Go Pack Go to the soaring crescendo of the Skol chant, from a lame Lambeau Field, they don't even have a roof and it's in Green Bay, my gosh, to the hallowed halls of Valhalla in US Bank Stadium, we have two additional small gifts that we wanted to give to you. So I'm going to start right here. First of all, we wanted to give you a little patch that you can put outside your front door so people that are insiders would know you're favorably predisposed to the Vikings. So here we go. Oh, no. Now,
I've never participated in a flag burning.
Now, Scott, secondly, the Shield Maidens of Catacot have gotten together and knitted you a stylish and conservative little head covering that they would like you to wear out and about on game days in the fall when you're out shopping in the community. So I got that right here. We wrapped it up very well. So here's to you, Scott, and Skol. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rick, for ending the body parts for all of us. We have a couple of things left to do, but I'm guessing I would like to give Pastor Scott a few minutes if you'd like to share a few thoughts on impromptu, if you would choose to do so.
Rick, I thought you liked me. I'll have a lot more to say on Sunday. I'll just say this, I really didn't do any of those things. We did those things. And I'm grateful for all of them and for all of you. And getting the chance to do all of those things with you, I wouldn't have traded any one of them ever for anything. I should, and I'll probably do more of this, but thank you for putting up with me for 12 and a half years. There is more ahead of you than is behind you, and there is more hope ahead than we could have possibly generated in the last 12 and a half years. And I will miss all of you very, very much. I love each and every one of you, and I'm just looking at all of you because I know we have so many stories together, and I could never share all of them. But I will hold you all in my heart, as I hope you will hold me in yours as well. And I look forward to getting the chance someday to coming back and sitting in the back with my Packer socks and harassing whoever is the poor preacher up in front. Thank you. I'll say more on Sunday. I think I'll save it for then. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
We do have a gift for you, Pastor Scott. So this is one part of a gift. The other part will be coming later, but this is a gift from behalf of the Shepherd community. So here you go. Sure, I would think you might like to open it.
It's an empty bag. A gift card from Tonka Cycle and Ski.
We thought you might enjoy that.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
No, thank you. On behalf of all of us, you will be missed. Two things left, and then we're gone, okay? So I'm going to ask Pastor Hub to come up and do a prayer and blessing, and then we will finish with a little fun song for Pastor Scott. So, oh. Pastor Hub. Woo.
The reason that I'm still here at Shepherd is because of Scott. The bishop, I met with the bishop when I retired, and he said, absolutely, you got to leave the congregation. And that's not good for a congregation to have the previous pastor hanging around. And so, but I got a call from Scott, and Scott says, "Why don't we have lunch? I'd like to have you come back to the congregation." I've been out looking at some other places, and so I met with Scott, and I said, "What you need to know is that I'm very opinionated." And so that you'll have to put up with that. But I only bat .300. That's good in basketball, but I'm wrong 2/3 of the time. And he said he would put up with that. So, and we've become the best of friends, and that will last as long as we both still live. I still got a few more years left. So I'm rather than for me to have a long prayer, because I can do that, I would have kind of a bidding prayer. From Psalm 121, I lift my eyes to the hills, from whence comes my help. Life is full of hills, and you can't see on the other side of the hills. So I lift my eyes, where's my help going to come from? I don't know what's on the other side of the hills. And so that is a prayer that all of us have had in this room. that we see the hill, we can't see over the hill, but that then we say, my help comes from the Lord who created the heavens and the earth. And so I thought we'd have a prayer where you would do the first part of the prayer. From whence comes my help comes from the Lord. So, and then the next one will be for all the rest of us. And so that whence comes my help, and then you'll say, our help comes from the Lord. And that'll be the closing prayer. Let us pray. Scott, you started out.
From whence does our help come?
And where does it come from?
Where does it come from? The Lord.
You all, your eyes look to the hill. What's going to be like when outside the hills when Scott's gone? You know, what this congregation, what's going to be our life together? From whence comes my help? Our help comes from the Lord. Amen. Amen.
With all those great voices out there, we're going to join in a little song to close things up this evening. We'll wait until you can see it when it warms up. Scott, man we adore, build a savvy on our giving, a whistling Jesus take money for, from the front pew to the back pew, from the organ to the sheet, we will be missing you. Even in our sleep, from the council to the youth group, from the many you've helped in need, from all your friends at SAW, we wish you Godspeed. From all your friends at SAW, we wish you Godspeed.
We have a photo booth in the back, so feel free to take your photos. And there's like hashtags, I'm not sure, but it's on the sign over there. So. Oh, okay. So anyways, go back there, get your pictures on the thing. If you get Scott in there, great. If you get all your friends in there, great. But go in peace, serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
This is